So continuing from hubris and humility. And please believe me, I'm only speaking for myself here. You know, I have the hubris, which is self-righteousness, but also, self-righteousness is out of balance, self-confidence, self-preservation, self-focus. Those are all very positive things that people struggle with, as I was saying in the previous video. Actually, I forgot one more type of person when you're in your wheelchair is the one that is overly nice. And often they're the ones who speak to the person who's with me, whether it be my daughter or my husband, Does your mum need a drink? Is your mum all right? Or is it your wife, is it? How is she? And both of them have the same reaction. Ask her yourself. Often my husband will turn around and go, are you all right, darling? You know what I mean? I don't know. I know these people are trying to be nice, trying to be decent, and I always say, as long as you're trying, you're winning. And we're all guilty of being human. I'm flawed. I make absolutely no airs or graces, or I can't think of the word. I get fibromyalgia, got fibromyalgia as well. Don't get me wrong, I know I'm not perfect. I know I have flaws, but I endeavour to be a better person. And that is part of, I think, the way I was raised and the particular path that I'm on in heathenry. So really down to the real reason I'm making these videos is this, first of all, speaking about humans being herds looking for their tribe, and from a scientific perspective, I believe what we're going through at the moment is an evolution of man, or a devolution, when we're moving from being herd animals to solitary. And that's why there's so much mental health issues. That's why we're seeing a huge rise in neurodivergency, autism, etc. It's the human brain changing, to its environment, because scientifically that is often what instills an evolution, or natural selection, an environmental change, and we're all so connected, aren't we? But yet we're not. I don't know my neighbours' names. I don't really speak to my neighbours. I don't know who they are. In some ways, that's my choice because of the years of hell living with a psychopathic neighbour, I crave a tribe. But every time I join a group, whether online or in real life, it starts out with this all so welcoming. And there's a huge movement within heathenry, Heathens Against Hate. But you see, it has this tendency, if you allow too much hubris and self-righteousness in without enough humility and tolerance, you get to the point of they're extremely intolerant toward folkish groups. Now, folkish groups, for those who don't know, are those who believe that it's a folk religion, much like Sikhism or some Native American past, that it is for the people who are genetically connected to it, get the most out of it, which is something I actually kind of believe in, because I do believe that in searching for your spiritual roots is searching or connecting with your literal roots. I do also believe in past lives, etc., but those past lives always follow a genetic line, if you like. I don't believe is possible, or would be possible, if we indeed have the choice of what our soul does and where it goes next. You get a lot of white people who claim to have Native American guides or Native American past lives. Considering what white people did to Native Americans, why would an ancient Native American spirit choose to be reborn as a white person in Britain? I just find it dumb, honestly I do. But again, that's my opinion. Okay, that's the way I see it. Now, my daughter, she's very drawn to, I think it's Shinto, or the Japanese way of things. Very interested in it. And unfortunately, this generation is so scared of being accused of cultural appropriation rather than appreciation, that it's put a blockage in her, And it's like I said, who's to say that she doesn't have a past life, or somewhere in her genetic line, because her dad's Nigerian, not British, somewhere in her genetic line. I mean, even British, you know, I mean, from our gypsy roots, the gypsies travelled from Southern Asia. Who's to say we don't have an ancestor somewhere way, way back that was Japanese, you know? But anywho, getting back to the point, I agree with folkish people to a certain extent, because I think to start your spiritual journey, you have to connect with the spirits that are around you and the land that you live in, or the land that you were born in, you know. A lot of people struggle with their heritage. My daughter does to a certain degree, because she's mixed race, but having had her dad and her dad's family in her life, I think it's helped to balance that. But anywho, that is a start, I think, to start from your roots. So I sort of understand where they're coming from in that sense, that to truly connect with the Northern European gods, you need to have a genetic connection to them, you know. And I do actually see that, you know, but I'm also of the opinion that living in modern times and the information age that we live in, that certain gods will have travelled with their people, you know. So in Britain, for example, it's probably the most culturally mixed place, because of right at the start, even before the land bridge fell, we had mixed peoples coming to Britain, you know. Nobody really can say who the original people of Britain were, you know, and then all the conquests and the immigration, etc. You know, it's really a mixed bag, you know. I actually got accused of cultural appropriation by an Icelandic person, you know, which was quite hilarious, considering I know from the genealogy that my dad did through his church, through the Mormon church, that our heritage is very solidly under the Danelaw, you know. So we most certainly have some sort of Viking blood in us somewhere, you know. We certainly were nowhere near Wessex, you know. Anywho, I digress, as I often do. So anyway, so what I'm saying is you've got to have some sort of understanding of those that are you consider intolerant, to truly be tolerant, you know, because just because somebody is racist, has opinions about certain races, and don't we all, you know, aren't all cultures / races have certain not just I can't think of the word right now, you know, like all Asians are smart, you know, Jews are greedy, you know, that sort of, I can't think of the word for it, you know. But you know, every culture, every race has its own background, its own history that defines them. Do you know what I mean? But there are those that define them in a very negative way. But you know, if they just have that opinion and they're not cunty about it, you know, they're not going out and killing those people or hurting them, or intentionally going out and hurting them, who the fuck cares what they think? Who the fuck cares what their opinion is? Why does it matter so much? So yeah, this second part, I would say, is about mental health and tolerance. And I'll continue to the next part. Okay, so I'll speak to you in a moment.